It is important to address potentially dangerous electrical situations. The situation described is extremely dangerous and could have resulted in a fire or electrical shock. The previous contractor's disregard for safety regulations is unacceptable and requires immediate attention. There are several reasons why it is essential to inspect all the wiring in the remodel. Firstly, there may be electrical code violations. The wiring observed clearly violates electrical code requirements. It is imperative to address all violations to ensure the safety of the home and its occupants. Secondly, it creates a safety hazard. The screw through the Romex could have easily caused an electrical fire or short circuit. It is crucial to find and repair any other potential hazards throughout the remodel. Thirdly, the unknown quality of work is concerning. The fact that one area of the wiring was done so poorly raises serious concerns about the quality of work performed in other areas. It is impossible to know for certain if the rest of the remodel is safe without a thorough inspection. Fourthly, there are liability concerns. If an accident or injury occurs due to faulty wiring, the general contractor and homeowner could be held liable. A comprehensive inspection can help to mitigate these risks. Homeowners' insurance policies typically require that electrical work be done according to code. A homeowner may have difficulty making a claim if an electrical issue is discovered that was not corrected during the remodel. It is understandable that the general contractor may be hesitant to tear out more walls, but the safety of the home and its occupants should be the top priority. By refusing to conduct a thorough inspection, they are putting the property and lives at risk. If the general contractor continues to resist, it may be necessary to contact the city building department or hire an independent electrical inspector to ensure that the wiring meets code requirements. Electrical safety is paramount and should never be compromised. A thorough inspection is a necessary step to ensure the safety and well-being of the occupants and the integrity of the property. Ignoring such blatant disregard for safety can have dire consequences. Remember that electrical codes are in place to protect people and property from harm. When these codes are violated, the potential for danger increases significantly. In situations where there is doubt about the quality of electrical work, it is always best to err on the side of caution and conduct a comprehensive inspection. This not only protects against potential hazards but also provides peace of mind knowing that the electrical system is safe and up to code. An electrical inspection involves a thorough examination of the electrical system, including wiring, outlets, switches, and panels, to identify any potential hazards or code violations. A qualified electrical inspector will have the knowledge and experience to identify problems that may not be immediately apparent. They will use specialized equipment to test the system and ensure that it is functioning properly. The inspector will also be familiar with the local electrical codes and regulations and can ensure that the system meets all requirements. When hiring an electrical inspector, it is important to choose someone who is licensed and insured. This will protect against any liability in case of an accident or injury. It is also a good idea to check the inspector's references and read online reviews to get an idea of their reputation and quality of work. The cost of an electrical inspection can vary depending on the size and complexity of the system. However, the cost is typically well worth it considering the potential costs of an electrical fire or other serious hazard. In addition to a comprehensive inspection, it is also important to perform regular maintenance on the electrical system. This includes checking outlets and switches for any signs of damage, replacing any frayed or damaged wires, and ensuring that all connections are tight. It is also important to avoid overloading circuits, as this can cause the wires to overheat and potentially start a fire. If you are not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, it is always best to hire a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to have it done by someone who knows what they are doing. A qualified electrician will have the training and experience to safely and effectively repair or upgrade the electrical system. When hiring an electrician, it is important to get a written estimate before the work begins. The estimate should include a detailed description of the work to be performed, as well as the cost of materials and labor. It is also important to ask the electrician about their qualifications and experience. Make sure they are licensed and insured and that they have a good reputation. Electrical safety should always be a top priority. By taking the necessary precautions and conducting regular inspections and maintenance, one can help protect themselves and property from the dangers of electricity. Remember that electricity is a powerful force, and it should be treated with respect. Never attempt to perform electrical work unless you are properly trained and qualified. If there is any doubt, always call a qualified electrician. Electrical codes are a set of regulations that govern the design, installation, and maintenance of electrical systems. These codes are designed to protect people and property from the hazards of electricity. Electrical codes are typically developed by national organizations, such as the National Fire Protection Association, and are adopted by state and local governments. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, is the most widely adopted electrical code in the United States. The NEC is updated every 3 years to reflect changes in technology and best practices. Electrical codes cover a wide range of topics, including wiring methods, overcurrent protection, grounding, and equipment installation. They also specify the types of materials and equipment that can be used in electrical systems. Compliance with electrical codes is essential for ensuring the safety of electrical systems. Failure to comply with these codes can result in fines, penalties, and even criminal charges. In addition to protecting people and property, compliance with electrical codes can also help to prevent electrical fires and other hazards. When designing and installing electrical systems, it is important to be familiar with the applicable electrical codes. These codes can be complex and difficult to understand, so it is often helpful to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer. An electrician or engineer can help to ensure that the electrical system meets all applicable code requirements. Electrical inspections are an important part of ensuring compliance with electrical codes. An electrical inspection involves a thorough examination of the electrical system to identify any potential hazards or code violations. Electrical inspections are typically performed by licensed electrical inspectors. Electrical inspectors are trained to identify potential hazards and code violations. They will use specialized equipment to test the system and ensure that it is functioning properly. Electrical inspectors will also be familiar with the local electrical codes and regulations and can ensure that the system meets all requirements. If an electrical inspection reveals any code violations, the inspector will issue a report detailing the violations and recommending corrective actions. It is important to correct any code violations as soon as possible to ensure the safety of the electrical system. In addition to electrical inspections, it is also important to perform regular maintenance on the electrical system. This includes checking outlets and switches for any signs of damage, replacing any frayed or damaged wires, and ensuring that all connections are tight. It is also important to avoid overloading circuits, as this can cause the wires to overheat and potentially start a fire. If the general contractor continues to resist a full inspection, further action may be necessary. This could involve contacting the city building department, hiring an independent electrical inspector, or even seeking legal advice. The decision of how to proceed will depend on the specific circumstances of the situation. However, the safety of the occupants and the integrity of the property should always be the top priority. Electrical hazards can take many forms, including electrical shock, electrical fires, and arc flash. Electrical shock occurs when a person comes into contact with a live electrical circuit. The severity of the shock will depend on the amount of current flowing through the body and the duration of the contact. Electrical shock can cause burns, muscle spasms, cardiac arrest, and even death. Electrical fires are caused by faulty wiring, overloaded circuits, or damaged electrical equipment. Electrical fires can spread quickly and are often difficult to extinguish. Arc flash is a dangerous electrical explosion that can occur when there is a short circuit in an electrical system. Arc flash can generate intense heat and pressure, causing severe burns, blindness, and even death. There are many ways to prevent electrical hazards. Firstly, it is important to have a qualified electrician install and maintain electrical systems. Secondly, Regularly inspect electrical systems for any signs of damage or wear. Thirdly, replace any frayed or damaged wires immediately. Fourthly, avoid overloading circuits. Fifthly, never use electrical appliances near water. Sixthly, keep electrical outlets and switches covered when not in use. Seventhly, teach children about electrical safety. Eighthly, in the event of an electrical fire, evacuate the building immediately and call 911. Ninthly, if someone is being electrocuted, do not touch them. Turn off the power source and call 911. Electrical safety is a shared responsibility. Everyone can play a role in preventing electrical hazards by following these simple tips. Furthermore, in existing construction, there are several areas where electrical violations are commonly found. These include improperly grounded outlets, which can pose a shock hazard. Another common violation is the use of extension cords as permanent wiring, which is a fire hazard. Overloaded circuits are also frequently encountered, often due to inadequate wiring or too many appliances plugged into a single circuit. Exposed or damaged wiring is another serious violation that can lead to electrical shock or a fire. Improperly installed or missing junction box covers are also common, creating a risk of accidental contact with live wires. Finally, the absence of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs, in wet locations such as bathrooms and kitchens is a significant safety concern. GFCIs are designed to protect against electrical shock by quickly shutting off power when a ground fault is detected. Addressing these common electrical violations is crucial for ensuring the safety of homes and buildings. A thorough electrical inspection can help identify these issues and ensure that they are corrected promptly. Remember that electrical safety is not just a matter of following codes and regulations. It is also about using common sense and being aware of the potential hazards of electricity. By taking the necessary precautions, everyone can help prevent electrical accidents and injuries. And to expand further on electrical inspections, these are crucial for identifying potential hazards and code violations in electrical systems. A qualified electrical inspector will conduct a thorough examination of the system, including wiring, outlets, switches, and panels. They will use specialized equipment to test the system and ensure that it is functioning properly. The inspector will also be familiar with the local electrical codes and regulations and can ensure that the system meets all requirements. When conducting an electrical inspection, the inspector will typically look for the following things: improperly grounded outlets, which can pose a shock hazard; exposed or damaged wiring, which can lead to electrical shock or fire; overloaded circuits, which can cause the wires to overheat and potentially start a fire; improperly installed or missing junction box covers, which can create a risk of accidental contact with live wires; the absence of GFCIs in wet locations, which can increase the risk of electrical shock; any other potential hazards or code violations. If the inspector finds any violations, they will issue a report detailing the violations and recommending corrective actions. It is important to correct any code violations as soon as possible to ensure the safety of the electrical system. In addition to electrical inspections, it is also important to perform regular maintenance on the electrical system. This includes checking outlets and switches for any signs of damage, replacing any frayed or damaged wires, and ensuring that all connections are tight. It is also important to avoid overloading circuits, as this can cause the wires to overheat and potentially start a fire. If you are not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, it is always best to hire a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to have it done by someone who knows what they are doing. A qualified electrician will have the training and experience to safely and effectively repair or upgrade the electrical system. In addition to the points already discussed, there are several other factors to consider when dealing with potentially unsafe electrical work. One important consideration is the age of the electrical system. Older electrical systems may not be able to handle the demands of modern appliances and electronics. This can lead to overloaded circuits and other hazards. If the electrical system is more than 25 years old, it may be time to have it inspected and potentially upgraded. Another factor to consider is the presence of aluminum wiring. Aluminum wiring was commonly used in homes built in the 1960s and 1970s. However, aluminum wiring is more prone to corrosion and can become loose over time. This can lead to overheating and fire hazards. If there is aluminum wiring in the home, it is important to have it inspected by a qualified electrician and take steps to mitigate the risks. Another important consideration is the presence of knob and tube wiring. Knob and tube wiring was commonly used in homes built before the 1940s. Knob and tube wiring is an outdated wiring method that is not as safe as modern wiring methods. If there is knob and tube wiring in the home, it is important to have it inspected by a qualified electrician and consider replacing it with modern wiring. In addition to these specific concerns, it is also important to be aware of the general signs of electrical problems. These include flickering lights, tripped circuit breakers, and burning smells. If any of these signs are noticed, it is important to have the electrical system inspected by a qualified electrician as soon as possible. Finally, it is important to remember that electrical safety is a continuous process. It is not enough to simply have the electrical system inspected once. It is important to perform regular maintenance and be aware of the potential hazards of electricity. By taking these steps, one can help protect themselves and their property from the dangers of electricity. And focusing further on the specifics of dealing with a general contractor who is hesitant to address electrical concerns, there are several strategies that can be employed. Firstly, it is important to communicate concerns clearly and professionally. Explain the specific safety hazards that have been identified and why it is important to address them. Provide evidence to support the claims, such as photos or videos of the unsafe wiring. Secondly, cite relevant electrical codes and regulations. This will help to demonstrate the seriousness of the situation and the legal obligations of the contractor. Thirdly, emphasize the potential liability risks. Explain that the contractor and homeowner could be held liable if someone is injured or property is damaged due to the unsafe wiring. Fourthly, offer solutions and alternatives. Suggest ways to address the concerns without tearing out too much drywall. For example, could use a snake camera to inspect the wiring behind the walls. Fifthly, document all communications in writing. Keep a record of all conversations, emails, and letters with the contractor. This will be helpful if it is necessary to take further action. Sixthly, if the contractor is unwilling to address the concerns, consider contacting the city building department or hiring an independent electrical inspector. These professionals can assess the situation and issue orders to correct the unsafe wiring. Seventhly, if necessary, consult with an attorney. An attorney can advise on legal rights and options. Finally, remember that the safety of the occupants and the integrity of the property should always be the top priority. Do not be afraid to stand for what is right, even if it means taking a stand against the general contractor. And considering the insurance implications, it is critical to understand how homeowners' insurance policies typically address electrical issues. Most policies require that electrical work be done according to code. If an electrical issue is discovered that was not corrected during the remodel, the homeowner may have difficulty making a claim. The insurance company may argue that the damage was caused by negligence or a pre-existing condition and therefore is not covered. It is important to review the homeowner's insurance policy carefully to understand the coverage and exclusions. Also, be sure to document all electrical work that is performed, including inspections, repairs, and upgrades. Keep copies of all invoices and permits. This documentation will be helpful if an electrical issue arises and a claim needs to be filed. If the insurance company denies a claim, consult with an attorney. An attorney can review the policy and the facts of the case and advise on legal rights and options. Remember that insurance companies are businesses and they are not always on your side. It is important to protect your own interests and be prepared to fight for what you are entitled to. The presence of a screw through the Romex is a clear indication of substandard work and a disregard for safety. It is likely that other areas of the wiring are also substandard. A thorough inspection is necessary to identify and correct any potential hazards. If the general contractor is unwilling to conduct a thorough inspection, it may be necessary to take further action. This could involve contacting the city building department, hiring an independent electrical inspector, or even seeking legal advice. The safety of the occupants and the integrity of the property should always be the top priority. In addition to the immediate safety concerns, there are also long-term implications to consider. Substandard electrical work can lead to a variety of problems down the road, including electrical fires, electrical shocks, and damage to appliances and electronics. These problems can be costly to repair and can also put lives at risk. By addressing the substandard electrical work now, can prevent these problems from occurring in the future. It is also important to consider the impact on the value of the property. Substandard electrical work can decrease the value of the property and make it more difficult to sell. By correcting the substandard electrical work, can increase the value of the property and make it more attractive to potential buyers. Remember that electrical safety is not just a matter of following codes and regulations. It is also about using common sense and being aware of the potential hazards of electricity. By taking the necessary precautions, everyone can help prevent electrical accidents and injuries. And lastly, when engaging with any electrical work, ensure to disconnect power before starting any electrical work. Always use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. Never work on electrical systems when wet or damp. Be aware of the location of overhead power lines and underground utilities. Follow all applicable electrical codes and regulations. If there is any doubt, always call a qualified electrician. Following these guidelines can help to ensure safety and prevent electrical accidents and injuries.